Recently, PAX East 2023 had Curd Games showcase 3 of their games. One of those games was FTK2, which they have highlighted on the front end of this video. Now, when I originally saw this video, I was watching it on my phone during a Twitch live stream. So I was kind of in and out of it, but wanted to watch this thing all the way through with you guys. Talk about some really cool things that are upcoming for FTK2. On top of it, too, there's interviews with the dev team here. And I think this is going to be really neat for us to kind of take a first look at. Plus, I highly recommend that you guys probably pause this throughout because I'm sure there's going to be some Easter eggs within the screenshots that they have of the different gameplay. Before I kind of go and kind of talk about the different elements that they're kind of run throughout this video, I'm going to be leaving all the links in the descriptions down below. So make sure that you guys go ahead and check out the FTK2 Discord. You can sign up for their alpha. On top of it, too, you may want to go ahead and mark this off on your wish list for Steam. I'm really excited for this thing to come out this year. So let's go ahead and kind of play this thing through and talk about it as we go.
This is my realm. This is my rule. I brought peace to this land.
Hopefully you guys have seen this trailer at this point.
Is coming. And now, I'm more powerful than they could ever imagine. As the chaos rises, they try to challenge me. Gone are the heroes of the past. None who remain can oppose me. This is my realm. This is my rule.
Now, I know you guys probably already know this. We talked about this in our quick podcast when this first got introduced. Of course, you see the big 2x4 battle ground. The one thing that I have to be careful of here is I'm part of the alpha testing team. So there's certain things that I just cannot talk about that I've seen, but I'm going to pretty much just react to what they're showing here without adding additional notes into that. So it's going to be a little bit of a fine line I have to dance here.
My name is Colby Young. I am the creator of For the King. I am a co-founder of
Fellow ball
Games,
band.
and I'm currently the lead designer. I started working on this game. I called it the Black Gate. It was just this board game I was making. It was based off of Ultima. It's created by Richard Garriott, so he's kind of one of my game design heroes. I just became obsessed with it, and I worked on it like day and night, and yeah, and eventually it just turned into like this really fun thing. I was sharing with people online, like in the Ultima community, and they were really excited about it.
My name is Gordon Moran, and I'm a co-founder and art director here at Iron O Games. Well, it was Colby's brainchild, and he had started by making the board game version, blended the two aspects of both those genres into something. So we've taken aspects from traditional board games, and we've taken aspects from more sort of old school JRPG style our video games, and yeah, combine them into For the King.
So what's kind of interesting there is that they kind of showcased Frost Adventure was the only one that they showcased there. Kind of a little bit of a tangent here. The developers, one of my biggest gripe with FTK1 is in their Discord, the developers never spoke to us, like ever. What is such a 180 from FTK1 to 2 is they are extremely active in the community now. It is awesome. Brood has now taken over as like the community manager. He has been very active and has been doing a wonderful job. But these different guys too, the developers, there's a handful of them that are very active within the community. So again, if you guys want to be able to discuss a few things with these guys, I highly recommend that you guys join their Discord.
Sterling Anderson. I've known Colby and Gord.
Sterling this is the other cool part about this is putting faces to names. Because of course, in Discord, you just get like these goofy screenshots of like some type of picture that's not them. But Sterling's also pretty active in the community, so it's kind of nice to see face to the name.
Quite a long time. I moved to Vancouver in 2009. I met Gord pretty much straight away because of Colby, because I went to high school with Colby. So I've known Colby going back.
Plus, the other thing is too is what I love is just getting an opportunity to kind of get to know the individuals behind it. I think a lot of times we ask a lot of the devs, the people of the community, and realize that they're human beings and people too that have their own lives and families and probably kids and all that kind of stuff as well too.
20 years plus. I have a couple early first experiences with For the King. I would say the very first one is when it started as an idea. It was a board game at Colby's house. So one day, Gord and I are over there, we're playing this board game. We didn't know it was For the King, but it was For the King. And we put 8 hours into this board game until the wee hours of the night, and then I got stuck on an island with the boat deed. Those guys were on a different island. Game over. 8 hours. That was the introduction to For the King before it was For the King.
I'm Mike. I'm a developer for Iron Oak Games.
I wonder if that's where the safety stone came from, is because Sterling got blown up in a game. It's like, this is really stupid. I need to be able to get back to my team. We shouldn't absolutely crush you for something popping up out of the water and absolutely obliterating you. That's pretty awesome. But this is actually a perfect time that I pause this. Mike is also active in the community as well too. But here's the awesome part. That hoodie, I've been actually begging them to come up with a For the King 2 hoodie. I think they did this to troll me purposely, because I want that thing so bad. And then I even told them I'd buy it off them, and they should sign it and I'd buy it off of them. Let's see if they actually do that. But hopefully they come up with that, because for those of you that are in my Discord community, maybe I'll even do like a special thing that you guys could win in For the King 2 hoodie. But I'm definitely buying one for myself, that's for sure.
Games. I do a lot of development focused on gameplay, dungeons, multiplayer, and whatever other mechanics that we need to jump on and make the game more fully featured and fun. How I found For the King was my D&D groups just were so inconsistent as one would experience, and I really wanted to scratch that itch, and I ended up stumbling upon the early access for the King. Kind of went through that way. It was a little rough at first, but I fell in love with the game, and I started playing, and I've been playing ever since.
I would describe For the King 2 to a new player by saying it's a turn-based RPG. It is a strategy game. There's lots of resource management. For the King 2 actually features more of like mission campaigns as opposed to the first game. So it's.
If you guys notice a little thing down here, it even says pre-alpha footage down at the bottom there. So they of course have this ongoing alpha that you guys can get into, that you guys can sign up for. But this is even pre-alpha stuff.
It's got a kind of a longer narrative to it, and yeah, it can be enjoyed by hardcore players to casual players. We've had people who play with their kids, and the kids are completely engaged with it. To people who play single player by themselves and really enjoy like the number side of the game, and like the whole min-maxing aspect of it. So two completely different spectrums, and they enjoy it equally for different reasons.
I'm J. Nicholas Happelman.
So I will say that I think the balance of the game of letting it be for casual players, and then also for hardcore players as well too. It's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people consider me as like one of the hardcore players in the community. I'm actually really not. I kind of more am like, I would say, casual. I'm like a casual hardcore player. Like I'm not looking to be the best player in the community, but at the same time as too, of course, I try to be pretty damn good at the game. But I do play it a lot more casually than people think. I just enjoy putting the videos and kind of stuff together for this game. And it's been very fun to be a part of the community. It's kind of interesting here is J Nick has actually been a guy that's been, I think, with the group for most of the time. He doesn't really talk too much in Discord. I think he usually only gets active. I think he was like the only one that kind of spoke in FTK1 when there was like multiplayer server issues. But for the most part, he doesn't talk too much. But again, the dev group in general, though, has been doing a really good job of talking with everyone. But he's been around for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Everybody calls me J-Nick, and I'm a developer here at Iron Oak Games. I started with them very, very early in their first project. Basically, as soon as they went live with version 1 out of early access. At its core, it is just a tabletop game. It is a complete digital board game with all the convenience.
Okay, there's one little Easter egg for you. Pay attention to what's in the equipment. Just letting you guys kind of take a quick look. But again, you guys should be pausing this video here and there, just kind of see some of the stuff that they show. So if anything you guys do see, leave it in the comments below.
Of the digitalness that a video game can bring, but the classicness of that adventure style tiles and dice rolls and cards and colors and unknown things that happen to you at any given time. I think it speaks to tabletop gamers in that way. Building FTK2 was never about finding one new major thing. Because I think FTK1 has a unique formula, and it's a very strong formula that even to this day, people haven't managed to copy that well. FTK...
J-Nick comes up with a great point there, and I think something that is fascinating I've seen in the community and actually been somewhat disappointing for me, probably from their standpoint, they're probably really happy for this, is that people will ask, well, do you guys know a game that's similar to FTK? And most of us struggle to actually find a game that is similar to FTK. Of course, there's always little nuances from different games that they're pulling from, but it is very unique. There's really not another game like this, and I think really well done. So J-Nick's 100% right on this.
FTK2 to me is just adding a little bit of flair on everything that's there. Just cranking up the formula just a little bit with a little extra flavor here and there. The larger maps, the more proceduralism in the maps, the more variation in the adventures you're gonna get. Obviously, the new graphic style and art style adds so much more flavor to look at.
The new art style allows us to put a little bit more detail and life into the world. Whereas the low poly aesthetic of For the King 1, you couldn't really get that level of detail with it, but now we're able to explore a little bit more detail and sort of bring that life and the ocean and the water environments.
That's actually been a pretty big talking point that people have had, just like in the general community. About the artistry of the first game, the poly look to where it is now. I think the overworld map looks beautiful. I think they've done a great job with that. And what's kind of interesting, I like that he's talking about because of the new style, or like what they're doing lends itself to have more detail into it. I've been kind of stepping back, taking a look to see where they kind of drive some of this. And I actually do see that this can actually look much better than the first one. I think a lot of people love the poly look to it, so some of them may be disappointed with it, but I think the direction that they're taking does make it look fresh and is new, and I think was the right move in my opinion on this.
Are looking really great. We're using some new tools there to make our water really shine. Dropstone Badlands is the one that's returning from FTK1 with the lava fields and volcanoes. That's going to look pretty spiffy. But in reality, they're all looking really cool. We're all really happy with how they're looking.
Yeah, For the King 2 actually takes a little bit of a closer look at Ferrule. You'll find that it's almost like you've taken the lens and you've zoomed in slightly. So now you can get to know the characters a little bit better. You can get to know the biomes a little bit more. We've added things like roads and stuff, which you never would have seen before, and the world just feels a little bit more rich. We've added a lot of new fun biomes. There's a lot of familiar ones too, so you're going to be seeing, you know, the Guardian Forest and all that, but new places that you've never experienced either. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
One of the few critiques we had on For the King 1 was that when you sat down in the adventure, you were there for the long haul. And if you're there, it could be a long adventure. It could be 10 hours, 12 hours. It's a really long playthrough. So in For the King 2, we still have a really long adventure, but we've broken it down into more of an adventure campaign style. And you still have this really long, detailed story to get through in the land of Ferrule, but you can do it at your own pace in your own time now, and you can break it down into bite-sized chunks, or you can play these really long sessions with your friends.
So you could tell with how they've set some stuff up. Again, I gotta be careful about what I've seen, but how he's describing it, yes, that it seems like that's the direction that they're taking it. The only like small concern I have is about allowing for not just kind of like forcing us in a linear progression. That's the one thing I really liked about FTK1 is when you get out of like glittering mines, the world opens up a lot. And not saying that that's what's happening here. It's the only just kind of like slight thing that I'm just a little bit concerned about is them making sure they don't force you into like a linear progression type system to where you're kind of like forced to go from this point to this point to that point to that point. I don't think they're doing that, but I do think it's a great idea though when they're trying to talk about the larger community that's sitting down for 6+ hours, for 10+ hours in a game can be very difficult, especially with how much time people have nowadays. So I think it's a good improvement that they should make. I'm just hoping that they do it in the right way. That's the only thing that I'm a little concerned about.
Some of the big changes, like the tactical style of combat that we're going to with a grid, that's a big improvement. That's a big change.
So yeah, the battle grid in For the King 2 is quite a versatile system. For the King 1 players are quite used to the 3-character 1-2-3 system. In the battle grid, you're going to have a new sense of movement. You're going to be able to move around burning areas. You're going to be able to poison areas and push people into them. The sense of movement really plays into the gameplay. It gives you new strategies to set up. It gives you new situations to get out of. It really expands the world of For the King in terms of its combat, and I think fans are going to be quite excited on what new features we're going to use the battle grid system for.
One of the new mechanics that we're adding to For the King 2 is mercenaries and followers. Mercenaries is really cool. Works like you would think like a mercenary. You walk into town, walk into that dusty saloon, you find a guy saddled up to the bar, you pay him some money, and he's going to go out on your adventure with you.
That's like spending money on a drunk guy.
Classes that you can hire. They're going to have different perks, different abilities, so that way you can kind of mix and match your play style with your mercenary to your party, and more importantly, to the adventure that you're on.
Mercenaries and pets are...
So, with what the two guys just stated, so Sterling and Mike. So Mike talked about, you know, the battle grid change, which is known from the trailer, and then of course mercenaries. So mercenaries is a new thing that they introduced. Again, I have to be a little careful about saying certain specifics in terms of changes, but I will say some changes that they've made. Now adding in this battle grid to where you're going to be facing off against up to 8 enemies. Now you've got your own 4. Then you start mixing in mercenaries. I know with the other changes that they've made, I feel like this game was already pretty well balanced. I actually think it's going to be even more balanced in this game, which I'm like really excited for that. And the reason why is that I think there's going to be a lot of spirited debates on what is meta in this game. I think the tweaks that they have made is really going to stir up the pot in terms of different types of strategies. I think you're getting a lot of people saying, I like this strategy or that strategy. And it's going to be hard cutting through that this is the like one specific way that you should be like selecting heroes and all that kind of stuff. And again, I really love the direction that they're taking with some of this stuff. But I also think it's because they've been listening to part of the community as well, too, and understanding what some of those nuances are. And but Mercs are going to be fascinating.
Are a new addition to the game. It's one of the new features that we're really excited about. And what's neat about it is you can now change the dynamics of your party mid-game by hiring, say, an archer or a magic user. You can fill in gaps where your strategies may be falling a little bit short. So if you need to tackle a really difficult dungeon, you might want to bring in some extra firepower and go hire a powerful mercenary in town. He can help you kind of overcome like a few obstacles.
So what's so as you kind of see here, it talks about like the contract, like how long you have them for. So it's for 8 rounds and it's 30 gold. Since they're showing this here, I could talk a little bit about this. But like the discussion is like when we talk about the rounds, is you probably want to try to like daisy chain them into areas like he was saying, dungeons, and pull them into and see if you can actually get a lot of use out of your mercenary, so you can get good value for that. And if you do that, like, do you spend God's beards to keep your mercenary up? Are you allowed to use God's beards to on your mercenaries? Like, can you use herbs and stuff like that? My assumption is you could. There's going to be a lot of questions, but again, when you start talking about such a bigger battlefield and more players involved, you're going to get a ton of different strategies. So this is a cool little mix into the game.
Obstacles for the cost of gold, of course. The pets are also really fun. You can find encounters in the wild, and using like just slot rolls and everything. The reward of an encounter can be that you've befriended a wolf or a spider or an eagle.
That's awesome that there's going to be encounters like that, because again, I want things to expand, so I want them to have some really cool encounters. I think the encounters definitely had a lot of room of improvement for FTK1, so I really think that they can do it with FTK2.
Goal or something like that. So they're a little bit squishier, so maybe they won't last like the entire campaign, but like it's just kind of a fun element that kind of adds to like the whole story of the adventure, and they can aid you in combat a little bit, and yeah, so it's pretty fun.
So I think fans are gonna love some of the new features like Mercs, where you can take a wolf companion, or you can go hire a buddy at a tavern and go dungeon crawling with them, or even jump on a landboat and go for a nice cruise along the lands of Faerul. I think Landboat really adds to that sense of movement. I think we in For the King 1, boat travel was so integral to having to get from place to place, especially if there's a body of water in your way. Now the land of Faerul is so large that you're going to need to get around a lot faster.
So the fact that he's saying that it's so large that you need a land boat, I don't think it's going to be a linear progression. That's why I feel that that's not going to be the case. Because if you need something to move you around, like you did on the water, which was the best way to move around, was use the edges of the water, it's cool that they're incorporating something like a land boat. We haven't seen this thing yet. So that's what's going to be fun to watch, how that plays into the game.
A lot quicker and with a lot more friends. And that kind of brings us to having 4 players that you can all jump in the landboat with. And, we'll find times where we're jumping out of the landboat having to deal with like a naughty goblin, or sometimes we'll just want to go and grab the nearest loot.
I love playing For the King with my friends because you get to share in this seemingly simple adventure that always goes off the rails. And it speaks to me in the same way that playing D&D does. And I know they're wildly different mechanically, but that emotional feeling you get from what's going to happen, oh my god, we screwed up, or the rush of needing to finish something on time, or deal with your resources. It's all the same, right? And sharing that with other friends is really the best part about it.
The way we describe co-op on For the King is hilarious misfortune. And that's exactly what makes it fun to play with your friends. It's great as a single player game as well, but with a group of friends, it really sort of
If you guys saw a little Easter egg there too, see how big the trolls were? They didn't take up just one square.
to that traditional tabletop experience that you might have with a bunch of people sitting around a table, laughing at their misfortunes as well as your own misfortunes, and it makes some of the defeats easier to handle, and the victories sweeter as well. So everything's better with friends.
Valiant adventurers once fought to bring peace to the realm of Farul and avenge a murdered king. But now, a new peril threatens its people. The once peaceful and benevolent queen has turned against her subjects, casting Farul
Love that club.
into darkness.
It's like
and
bigger than the
despair.
character.
The resistance is rising, and the fight for freedom has begun. Adventurers will travel far and wide to prevail. Victories will be hard fought, requiring strategy, strength, and courage. New alliances must be forged to bolster our ranks.
Now, I saw this real quick screenshot on Discord. That is a badass looking fight right there. Just how it looks, with like the nooses and the platform and how that floats. I forgot who screenshot that in Discord, but I wanted to make sure I hit this when I was watching this.
The fate of Farul lies in the hands of the resistance. The time to act is now. Will you join us, adventurer?
So again, this is pretty exciting. I'm pumped for this. I'm so glad how much the devs have been talking to us through this entire process. Please check out their Discord and get active into the alpha if you can. Try to sign up for it. I highly recommend it if you guys want to get in on the action a little bit early on, so you can see some things that we've been able to see as a group. Pretty cool. I think they've just been doing a great job with all of this stuff. And my hat's off to them. It's been a fun ride with them. And of course, there's still ways to go until this thing gets released. We still don't know when this thing is going to get released this year, but I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to get this thing out, but they've been doing great. Again, all the links are in the description below. If there's anything that you guys want to access, appreciate you guys watching this video with me, and hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you guys.